Welcome back to Class on Grass Podcast, Season 2, Episode 36.
Yeah, had some technical difficulties
Yes.
there. We got a little bit into the podcast, but something was wrong with the audio, but we got it all fixed, and hopefully this time through, everything is working smoothly. But just kind of running through what we said previously, um, the Euros are happening right now, and kind of the biggest thing on everyone's mind is the health and safety of the player on Denmark's national team, Christian Eriksen. If you didn't know, he collapsed and had cardiac arrest during Denmark's game versus Finland in about the 40th minute. His heart, I believe, stopped beating for about 5 minutes. They did chest compressions, and then they got the defibrillator out. They shocked him, and after one shock, his heartbeat came back, apparently, which is somewhat quick compared to other instances when a defibrillator is needed. But, it's still one of the scariest things I think I've ever watched in a match. But I'm glad he's okay now. And, it's one of those things where football, it doesn't always come first.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't even watch, I wasn't watching it live. So I just kind of found out from a group chat with you, a couple other people in it, kind of just based on your reactions. I was like, what is going on? And I think I was like an hour late after checking my phone, but it was just really scary. Like, I didn't know if he was alive still or not, just based on because you guys were reacting at first and then didn't really follow up. So I went and checked, but I was glad he made it. He seems to be doing fine from all reports, to be honest. And he said, he doesn't remember much of the game, but he's still, at least from his comments to the media, he's still feeling somewhat positive and wants everyone to, focus on the team and not on him. And, I guess I just want him to probably maybe be on the sideline or at least in the stadium to watch the games. I don't know how how long he has to stay in the hospital.
I know we talked before, and obviously none of us are medical professionals in this room, so it seems like a very scary incident, and it seems like one where you might have to be in the hospital for a while. But like you said, with all the reports coming out, it seems like everything's going pretty well. The only thing that, I think the whole world, Christian Eriksen, his family, and the doctors are probably worried about is what caused it, to help prevent future problems. And at the moment, I don't think that they know, or at least what they have released to the press is that they don't know. So it's one of those things where you don't really know where it's going to go from here. We're happy that the player is safe, and other than that, all we can do is just hope for the best for him and his family. But I highly doubt we'll ever see him step onto a football pitch again for a competitive match.
Yeah, unless the only scenario I see him playing again is if it really was a random thing and it's not an underlying health issue where it could happen again, which is really sad because he was getting up there in age as far as a footballer's career, but still pretty young, and I think he still had a couple more years playing, especially in a big tournament with Denmark. Having that happen is just terrible. So
yeah, like I said before, just glad that he's okay, and hopefully this just improves everyone's ability to see that sometimes things are bigger than football. And I think the fans reacted really well. Chanting his name, the Finland fans and the Danish fans, going Christian Eriksen one after the other, and the Finnish fans giving the medical team the flags to help shield the player as he was being walked off. So, just a couple examples of really good community shown in that stadium and around the world with the support from everyone. So, sometimes things are bigger than football, and that's just the way it is. But, it's how it has to be. Certain things come before it. And I honestly never thought that I would see something like this in my life, but it does happen. There was another player, Mwamba, who played for Arsenal in 2012, who had pretty much the exact same thing happen in a televised FA Cup game. He had cardiac arrest, and they got him back after using a defibrillator. I don't know how many times, but after using a defibrillator. And he did survive, and now has a book out called I'm Still Standing. So that's a pretty cool story. And although it felt like something that, should never and will never happen, it does happen, and it's part of life. So at least Christian is okay, and hopefully him and his family are doing well through this time. But on a lighter note, the Euros have been really, really good other than that throughout the start. Not all the groups have finished playing. I think that Group F, is it?
One more game.
Yeah, Group F have one more game. But all the other groups have finished their first round of games. And we've seen some really good goals from Arnautovic, right, and also Patrick Schick.
Yarmolenko.
Yarmolenko. I don't know why I said Arnautovic.
He scored.
Did he also?
Yeah.
But yeah, Yarmolenko is the one who scored the very good one, as well as Patrick Schick, who scored from half field, which was an unbelievable goal. I know we reposted it on Class on Grass Instagram, but there was a lot of tweets and Instagram stuff going on around right after. Who's the keeper? Is Marshall? Dave Marshall?
Yeah, David Marshall.
Yeah, yes, he was not positioned well, but at the same time,
so
modern football, it's like that.
Many goalkeepers are that far out for set pieces anyway.
Yeah.
Ederson's always that far out.
Yeah.
I don't think it's his fault.
Yeah, and it was an unbelievable goal. And, at the end of the day, it's just, I don't think that football fans can get mad at David Marshall for what he did. They're going to be mad about the goal, but you can't get mad at the keeper. And it's unfortunate because Scotland lost that game, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2-0.
And that was the first time that they had ever been in a major national team. I know they call it finals, but that might get people tripped up here in America. A national team tournament since 25 years or something. So huge for Scottish fans that they get to be into a national tournament that's big.
They have a pretty tough group as well, and then to lose to Czech Republic, which is probably the other team that's on their level somewhat, is pretty hard to come back from. You'd have to see them picking up points from either England and Croatia now. But England started with a win for the first time in the Euros ever as well.
Yeah, and it's weird because Croatia had never lost an opening Euros game, and England had never won. And they both kind of swapped there. Yeah. Raz with, I think it was the build up to the goal from Calvin Phillips was better than the actual goal itself, but it's good to see Raheem Sterling scoring at his first major tournament for England. And honestly, I think it's unbelievable to see Calvin Phillips with an absolute man of the match performance.
Yeah, and he was pretty much everywhere, to be honest. He was making runs forward, he was breaking up play as well. For a player, really for Sterling and Phillips, a lot of people were saying, why are they starting? Why are they in the team? Because Phillips had a good season with Leeds. Sterling didn't have a great end of the season with Man City, but they both showed up for the first game and kind of silenced the haters, as they say.
Yes, 100%. The other thing from that Group D with the Czech Republic is a Minnesota United player was playing for Czech, and that is Jan Gregus, and he got featured.
Slovakia.
Oh, wait, really?
Yeah.
He's Slovakian?
Yeah. But he showed up. He was in the...
Yeah, he was on Bleacher Report.
He was in the Poland-Slovakia game. That's
what it was. Because I was watching... It was one of the... Yeah, okay. All jumbled up. But whatever.
Same flag, pretty much.
Yeah. They used to be countries combined. You can say that.
Yes.
But yeah, moving over then to Group E, Slovakia, who have a Minnesota United player in Jan Gregus. It honestly just good to see. It's weird because it means that the play isn't quite as good when you have a Minnesota United player out there, but it's cool to see when one of your home team. Though. Yes, 100%. But it's cool to see when one of your home teams has players in major tournaments like that. I remember when Francisco Calvo played for Costa Rica in the World Cup. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, Jan Gregus got featured on Bleacher Report on the front page of their Instagram post about the Euros, which I thought was insane. The only play, it was him and then Ronaldo and then two other people, and I was like, wow, that is huge.
I think he usually starts for Slovakia.
Yeah.
He just didn't. He came on as a sub in their win against Poland. So that Group E is pretty even right now because Spain and Sweden tied
Really disappointed with Spain.
in a very lopsided
5% possession.
and like 900 passes to like 200.
Just ridiculous. Like, I can't even, like, it's...
And Sweden should have scored.
Yeah, I saw the miss. But I'm very disappointed. Spain was my top team that I drew for the Euro draw that we're doing, and I was expecting big things and not delivering the big things. You know, points are important to pick up in that draw. But
Pedri looked good.
Pedri did.
The Barcelona young midfielder.
Who got nominated for Golden Boy, I think it is.
Oh, yeah.
But did you see the nominations list?
No.
It had like 40 names on it. Brian Reynolds was on it.
Really?
He was on Golden Boy. Brian Reynolds, Balogun, who's also like half American, Gio Reyna, and Yunus Musa were the 4 Americans on that list. But like, I don't know how you can nominate 40 people.
I mean, well, isn't like the Ballon d'Or usually pretty big, and then it narrows down?
Yes, it is, but it's like those are all good players.
Yeah.
When it's the Golden Boy, you're scraping the barrel once you get 40 because they're all have to be like what, under 21.
Yeah.
So I mean, just scraping the barrel there. But whatever. The other 2 Minnesota United players who are featured in the Euros are playing for Finland. Robin Lod and is it Jukka? Yeah, Jukka Raitala. I think Jukka's his first name. But they're both playing for Finland, and they picked up 3 points.
Yeah.
It was a controversial win.
Yeah.
Do you think that they should have gone back out literally like an hour and a half after a player had cardiac arrest on the field? And they only played apparently because Christian Eriksen talked to Denmark and said to the Denmark team and said, go out there and play.
Well, I heard that, but I also heard like UEFA was like, you either have to forfeit 3-0 or
that's messed
you
up
have
if
to
they say
play.
that.
And yeah, they did say that. Because of like how scheduled everything is, they can't like
that's not
afford...
right.
Yeah,
that's
so
not right. You can't do that.
a lot of players were complaining about that, but so they went out and then Finland scored and won the game 1-0. So
that's not okay. That I haven't done enough research on it, you know.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Specific,
because they were like, you either forfeit or you have to like play in an hour or 2 or something like that, finish the game.
They weren't talking about that when I was watching, so that's something that probably came out afterwards. When I was watching, it was all Eriksson, you know, called them and said, go back out and play, which was still controversial because the announcers and, you know, the pundits were all like, a player shouldn't be able to decide whether you go play. This is a moment where you need, like, something comes before football. You know, you need to stop this game, reschedule it for tomorrow, and then you can have everyone in a much better state of mind. There were Denmark players crying in the warm-ups, like literally crying. Like, I don't think that is right. And then to hear that UEFA says you either forfeit or you play, it's not right. It's not okay. Like, I am strongly against that decision. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things where it feels like poor leadership from UEFA there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
So yeah, Finland picked up the win and they're in second place in Group B. Belgium is in first after they won 3-0 against Russia, who had a good World Cup and, you know, relatively good for their standard. But Belgium came out, Lukaku
steaming.
Yeah. So
Lukaku with 2.
Belgium, I feel like, always looked good at the start.
Eden Hazard did get to play.
I heard he played well.
So this, I was talking to a few people about this. This is controversial. He was looking like Eden Hazard has looked in the past, but he wasn't productive with it. So he was really good at running around people in a circle and being really flashy.
Yeah.
But he wasn't very productive. And, you know, like, yes, they were 3-0 up. So you don't need to go to goal. Like, that's not necessary. But at the same time, like it's not an effective. It's not effective if you're just like moving around in circles, dribbling past people, and not advancing your team in any way. So I don't know. He looked like he was Eden Hazard again, but he didn't. In that spell of play, look to be affecting
Didn't make
the
many
team
chances.
positively.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'll be interested to see how he does. You know, if he even like starts or if he probably subs in again later on. He did look unfit. Like he didn't look like he'd played in a while.
Yeah.
Which is typical of Eden Hazard if he's been injured, which he gets injured a lot. But that's just there's nothing you can do about that. And but yeah, I mean I'll be interested to see how he does. And that Belgium team doesn't even need him.
Yeah, to be honest.
De Bruyne didn't even play.
Yeah.
De Bruyne didn't play, and they had. I mean, Lukaku can send that team to glory.
Yeah, I think it's more about their defense, who are getting pretty old.
Yeah, with Jan Vertonghen, Toby Alderweireld.
Courtois.
I think Denayer started, which is like not.
He's younger, right?
He's younger,
but
he's not as experienced or highly rated as the other lads in the back. But I mean, you do have to eventually pass it on to a younger generation, even if they're not quite as good or experienced or getting as much praise. But I mean that Belgium team has a good shot at winning it. I'm not sure if they will or not. I can't say confidently. I think France have a much better chance, and we will see France play later today. We are doing this right before the France-Germany game, so yeah. I mean, I think that's gonna. I think the group. What is it? Group F.
Group F. Yeah.
I think the winner of that has a very good chance of winning it all. I mean, you have. It's one of the weirdest things. You have the 3 winners of the last 3 major tournaments in one group. I don't think that should even be allowed.
Yeah.
Portugal, who won the Euros in 2016, France, who won the World Cup in 2018, and Germany, who won the World Cup in 2014. And then Hungary, who are going to not make it out.
No.
It's not...
There's no, chance, even from the start.
It just doesn't make sense why they're all in the same group.
Yeah. I mean, it's all from the draw. And it's crazy how they all ended up in the same group. I don't know. It's weird that I know all of this about futsal, but my coach is my actual team coach is the U.S. national futsal coach. So they have the futsal World Cup coming up in I don't know. I think it's in Ireland or something. I'm not really sure. In a little bit. And they do the draw they separate teams based on their previous records of the last World Cup and the friendlies, and they separate them into 4 pots, and each group gets 1 team from each pot. Group F would not happen if you did it like that. Yeah.
So I'm do you think that it group stages should be drawn like that?
Yeah, because I think just more random is just kind of how it's always been, to be honest, because
so you're for random. Here's the only positive of going random. You will get groups like Group F where some big teams go home early, which is honestly, it's something that makes it more dramatic throughout the group stages. But then you'll also get groups. I mean, you can look at Group C with Austria, Ukraine, and North Macedonia. Netherlands are going to go through probably, but Austria, Ukraine, and North Macedonia, I'm not sure which one of those 3 you'll go through. And on top of that, there are 3rd place teams that go throughout the tournament.
Yeah.
So you will get teams that maybe shouldn't go through if you did that system of drawing from a pot that are able to go through and make a run just because of the group that they were in, and then they can get some momentum going. Maybe they can knock out a big team in the knockout stage. So I don't know. It maybe makes it makes it less fair but more entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. I think just that imbalance, like you said, of some big teams going home, some smaller teams going through, because I feel like there's always big teams, middle teams, small teams in every group.
Yeah.
It's less likely a smaller team will make it through than when there's always a big team in that group. So.
Yeah. Do you think it's weird that Turkey as a dark horse, they were I kid you not, every time I looked at Instagram about the Euros, it was like
Yeah.
Turkey is the dark horse. And they got like absolutely obliterated by Italy, who
Yeah.
look really, really
They
good
do,
right now.
yeah.
Like Immobile, dude, the announcers were going off on him like how he's not good and all this, and then he scored and he got an assist. So I was like, I don't know if you guys can talk anymore. And on top of that, like the whole game, they're like, Italy are so good, they just need a number 9. They need a number 9. And then like in between those sentences, they would go, Immobile has scored like 123 goals for a club in the last 4 years. Okay, they don't need number 9 then.
Yeah.
They need to get Immobile firing.
Yeah.
Because he could be their number 9 easily. Like,
Yeah.
and if Immobile can do well, Insigne can find his shooting form, which he obviously did towards the end of that first game, and then you're going to get players like Barella who are going to come up and score some goals. You're going to get players like Chiesa who might sub in or maybe start even later in the tournament who might get some goals. Belotti's a good sub for striker. Like, I think that they have a really good chance of going through, and their defense is incredible. Old, but incredible. Chiellini, you have Bonucci, and then I don't remember who else that they started, but there are like
Donnarumma.
Donnarumma in the back, obviously, but there are like so many Italian center backs and outside backs that are just really good.
Yeah. They're like the past 10 years or something, they've always kind of been building. Like they've had some older players, but they've never really performed.
I mean, they
as
didn't make
used
it to the last
before
World
that.
Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So, but now, at least in that game, we'll see how they play in the 2 other ones. It seems like the younger players are performing as well as the more experienced players, both at the back end with like Insigne and other players. So that's probably the most exciting team for me. That I don't know how they'll play. Like obviously France, Belgium, England, we all know like they're good. They'll make it somewhat far.
Yeah.
If Italy could like not make it out of the group stage or make it to the semifinals or something.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I don't know. It seems like this is their time. You know, they've been building up to this, like you said. Italy's manager is
Mancini.
It's Mancini, I think, and he signed a contract till 2026, which
For Italy?
which makes him the coach of Italy, not until the next World Cup, but until the World Cup after that. So he has time, you know. And the other
That's
thing
smart though for international coach.
But and he's building a system. He's building a philosophy in that team. It's not just how can we win now, it's how can we build this team for the future. So I think that's huge that they'll have him for a while, and he's not a bad coach. And also I think, you know, them not making the 2018 World Cup almost gave them a little bit of time to work kind of in silence and just build their team and build their philosophy and keep going, which is why I think, you know, they're not a dark horse because they're not bad. They're like, you know, the best team in their group, and they're maybe top 7 or 8 teams in the whole thing, maybe even higher than that after we saw that first performance. But they're a team that no one was really talking about until now, and I think they will continue to talk about them. So I look forward to seeing what they can do, as well as Turkey, who didn't perform well in the first game, like we said. But you know Burak Yilmaz, right? He was nominated for Player of the Season in Ligue 1 with Neymar and Mbappe, which is kind of like a accomplishment in and of itself.
Well, Lille won,
to get nominated with those 2 players. He obviously scored a bunch, did well for Lille. And I'd love to see how he can do in this Euros, because this is probably going to be, I mean, unless Turkey makes the World Cup, considering that's just next year, but this might be his last tournament because he's 34, I think.
Yeah.
So I honestly want that guy to do so well, and I love him. He seems like a hard worker, so that's like one team that I think I want to do well as well. Other than that, I don't think there's much else to cover throughout. I mean, we talked about Group B with Belgium, Finland, Denmark, Russia, and I mean, just touching on that Russia team, I think I hope that they can find some form again, because you know it's always those teams that defend and sit back and then just spring forward and give you a counterattack where, you know, you'll be able to, like, there's a chance that they can make a run. And then, you know, that one team that makes a run in the Euros, everyone's going to be backing. Literally everyone's going to be backing.
I mean, we saw that. We've seen that pretty much every day in this tournament. Like, the Turkey-Italy game, obviously it ended 3-0, but Turkey defended really deep for a long time. They had their chances. I didn't watch the Russia game, but I'm sure that's kind of how they played.
Same thing. Well, actually, Russia had spells where they went up. The problem was when they did that, they were open at the back.
Mhm.
So I think they would have been even better if they had like done 2018 World Cup Russia and just sat back and
Yeah,
waited.
and Ukraine, Netherlands, that was such a good game, but in the scoreline, but in the game, Ukraine didn't do anything until they scored those 2 goals, and then
Yeah.
obviously lost, but like they kind of came to life, and that was really exciting. And then I think the Slovakia Poland game was pretty even.
Yeah.
Both more defensive teams, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then Hungary, Portugal only scored in the last 10 minutes.
Yeah,
It ended
no,
3-0, but
we're seeing a trend, and I think that's why it's going to be important to see what happens in this game that happens in the next 5 minutes. So we are going to wrap up soon.
yeah.
But the France Germany game, I'm interested to see how it goes when you have two powerhouses
Yeah.
colliding. But I mean, yeah, it's the Euros, and that's what it's going to bring out. And I think right now, we're going to be back next week for another podcast. But right now, there's not much to say other than the Euros are happening and they're underway, and it's really fun and it's really good. And I think everyone's happy right now,
Yeah.
just because of the like joy and all that stuff that the Euros brings out. But I think the real tension is going to start happening late group stage, and then obviously the knockout stage. Who's going to go through? Who's going to get knocked out? That's when we're going to see players and teams rise up, I think, more. But yeah, other than that, a few transfers just to go over. Memphis Depay is off to Barca, pretty much confirmed. Not like 100%, but pretty much confirmed. So good for him. Been at Lyon for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Gini, his transfer was hijacked by PSG. He was off to Barca as well. It was clear as day that he was going to Barca.
Yeah.
And then somehow PSG decided to offer him double what Barca was offering him in contract and wages. So now he's off to PSG.
Koeman was kind of trying to make a Dutch team in Barcelona because he's had De Jong,
Yeah.
Wijnaldum, and Memphis, but obviously Wijnaldum didn't end up going. But
Yeah.
you could see what he's trying to do there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. It's all about money these days.
Yeah.
It is all about money. Unfortunately, I don't think Genie needs more money, but he wants it probably. So, I mean, he's going to be joined by the Italian goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma. I think is it Gianluigi as well? It's funny that they both have the same name, Buffon and Donnarumma.
Yeah.
But yeah, Donnarumma will be heading to PSG as well. He has been destined to leave AC Milan for a while. Started there when he was 16, and now he's only 22, but he's felt 22 forever. So basically just leaving after his first year.
Yeah, pretty much. Or
But-
other players' usual first year.
Yeah. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up podcasts for this week and technically last week because we took a little break. But we'll be back next week discussing more Euros action as the group stages conclude. And until then, hopefully you all have a great week. You're able to watch the Euros games because the Euros games are phenomenal, and that no one else gets injured or anything close to that. But yeah, until then, have a great week and peace.